What's in a name? Your name. Well, more than you can imagine, and we're going to go through that in this lesson. Hey Buckaroos, today we're going to talk about names on the radio. Now I'll tell you right up front, I don't think you should use your real name. A lot of people do, and that's fine, and I did, but if I had to do it all over again, I would not ever use my own name. And I'm going to tell you why in a bunch of different stories, real things that happened, and the brunt of them are about professional reasons why you would not want to use your own name. You would want to make up a name. When I say professional, I mean like reasons for being on the radio and performing and, how you can do that better and all of that other stuff. But the real reason, the main reason, is if they weren't good enough, the main reason, and I'll tell you the story of what happened to me, has nothing to do about radio. It's just one of those things where after I tell it to you, you're going to go like, yeah, I don't ever want to use my real name on the radio ever again. Now, a lot of this is predicated certainly on you being a little bit held back in your own mind or held back with your personality or whatever when you're using your own name. If that doesn't actually happen and you can actually be who you want to be, if they're one and the same, then use your own name. There's a reason why tons of performers, especially actors, and even writers, people who write with ghost names, why they use different names. And a lot of that has to do with their particular personality. The big thing now about jockeying is, you have to be your own person. You have to be yourself. You have to be realistic. You have to be real. You have to let your own personality shine through. You've heard that a million times. And that doesn't prevent you from having a different name. As a matter of fact, I'll make the case that actually your real personality will actually shine through better with a name that is not your own. You'll do the things that will make you a better performer, because at the end of the day, and this is where I kind of split off from people who authentic, real, all that sort of stuff. At the end of the day, if you want to be on the radio, you need to be able to perform. You are a performer. You're an entertainer. You got to do something that's a little bit larger than life and all of that stuff. Now, can you do that, and maintain your personality? Absolutely. You can for sure do that, maintaining your personality. Let me take this off of radio for a second. How many people are trolls on the internet and social media? They do things on the internet and they write things that no one in their right mind would ever say to anybody's face directly. So, is that the real personality and they're miserable, awful people? And they want to, rip apart everyone? Or are they that person that just hides behind the veneer of being, oh, I'm nice? Which one actually are they? What is the real personality? I would argue the troll is the real personality. Now, let me tell you a story. When I was at CKLW, Steve Martin, that's Steve Martin, he used to come in about once a year, and he did that for, maybe 4 years straight, and he used to be on the show with Bill Gable. And, Billy did Afternoon Drive, and Steve would stay for like an hour. He would do the show with Billy for an hour. It was a different time. We used to have major, stars and comedians and movie stars, and Elton John did 4 hours with Bill, Afternoon Drive. I did John Travolta for 4 hours. He was with me and Travolta 4 straight hours. I mean, it's really interesting where, he's right across from you and, you're playing tunes, he's playing DJ, and I'm doing DJ right along with him. After the first time I said, hey, Bill, how was it with Steve? How was he? And he goes, oh man, he was really nice. He was a really nice guy. He said it was really amazing. It was kind of I never really seen it. It was a really weird phenomenon. When we weren't talking, Steve would be kind of like this. And the earphones are on the table in front of him. He's sitting in the chair, and he'd be kind of like this, just sort of looking around, and he sort of slouched and quiet. And then I'd say, all right, Steve, we've got another 20 seconds. And he would put the earphones on, and all of a sudden he would come up, and he would be like 10 inches taller, even though he's sitting in the chair. And he would come alive, and when he'd hit that mic button, he was on. Funny, larger than life, animated, all the things you'd ever want to, talk about of him being a comedian. And then as soon as he turned that mic off, right back down to that other person. So what was the real personality there? I would say both. One was his personality, the way he is, and then he lets that other person out. I think most people have two personalities. Now, he uses his own name, but there is an enormous amount of people that don't use their own name. One of the things that I found out that sort of drives this point home to a degree, when I was doing mornings in a different city other than Detroit, when I was doing mornings as part of a team, and the salespeople sold this comedy club, but it was a really good comedy club, and it was a pretty high-end comedy club. So they had, they had major stars coming in. They were the same people that, you'd see on TV shows all the time. They'd be on Carson or Letterman. They would also be in, small parts in movies. They were that level of comedians, but then there were other comedians too. So anyway, the sales department sold this thing where, every Friday, one of the comedians was going to be on the show, on our morning show, and, for 5 minutes, and that's the way they sold it. And, at first it was like, oh man, this is going to be brutal. So the first comedian came in and to be fair, he was pretty decent, but we didn't interview him. It was torture to try to interview. We didn't know anything about him. We didn't know what to do. It was like, and it wasn't all that funny, and it sort of sucked. So at that point, I was flashing on Steve Martin because that had been years before, and I thought, oh, let's do it this way. And the other person that was with me was Tom Walker. So I said, Tom, why don't we do this? So, and we tape these on Thursday. So the comedian would come in Thursday after our Thursday morning show. We would tape it, and we would do 2 openings. We would make believe that the person was in on Friday morning live with us. And we played it at 6:40, and then we played it again at 8:40, same bit, but we changed the beginning. So they would come in, they'd sit down, I'd say, hey, this is what we'd like to do. We'd like to kind of make sure that you sound and are as funny as awesome, and and really a little taste of your act, this act or a different act that you did, something, a taste of you. Give us 5 questions that you'd like us to ask that you're ready to, you're prepared for, and you're ready to go, and you'd hit it. So that's what they do. They would sit off, off on the side of the room. They would scribble out 5 things for us. They would hand us the 5 things. We'd look at them. We'd talk about it a little bit. And then, hey, we're on the air, and we would go and record. And typically we would record like 10 or 15 minutes worth of stuff and then hack it down to 5 minutes. So, I mean, this was pure funny gold. When that 5 minutes got on, it ended up being like, we got to interview a comedian to, oh my God, I so look forward to this bit because it was blazingly funny. It was super funny because it was ding, 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 ding. Okay, but here's the point, to drive it home. After about the 4th one, and we did this for like, 2 years, but after the 4th one, we would look at each other and we could judge whether the whole segment was going to be awesome or just kind of okay, or maybe even totally crappy by the way the comedian behaved. If the person opened the door and was, hey, and they were really, out there and really live and very, animated and all that stuff, universally, they were terrible. Almost always, they would be mediocre at best. The people who came in and would open the door, like the Steve Martin thing, they would come in and hi, how you doing? Good, good. You feel okay? I mean, it's a little early. Yeah, no, I had a show last night. It was, I didn't get home till about 3 o'clock, so this is tough. I'm working on 4 hours sleep. Okay, you want a coffee? Yeah, okay, thanks, man. So here's the 5 questions. Can you mind doing that? No, that'd be fine. Okay, really, really low key. But then, just like Steve Martin, when it was time to go, all right, we ready to go? Mics are on. Okay, ready to record? Okay, you recording now? Boom! They would just light up. And they would be on, and they were super funny for that 10 or 15 minutes that we were talking to them, and then they would collapse again. But that was them. They weren't putting on an act. That was the real personality. So from a professional point of view, I think choosing a different name is a really wise thing to do. Now, choosing a different name. Now, what do you do there? I'll tell you what happened to me when I went to New York, and I wanted to get away from using Pat Holliday. I still don't like my own name, Pat. I just don't like it. What I really wanted to do for years and years and years was use the name China. And then when I got the job in New York City, I went there and I told the PD, Sebastian Stone, I said, I don't want to use Pat Holliday. I want to use China. And he goes, well, China what? And I go, well, I don't know. I haven't really centered on that. And here's where it gets important. So he goes, all right. So we were out at lunch and we were trying to find a last name. And we're China this, China that, we went through a bunch of last names, and none of them felt right to me because none of them fit my other personality, what I wanted to be. It was still me, okay, still real and all that stuff, but didn't feel right. He was really super pushing me to use the name Harden, China Harden, like Tim Harden. And that made sense to me for him because I'm sure that was his other personality. And it was like, oh man, Sebastian, I just don't feel it. Okay, all right, if you don't feel it, you got to feel what, whatever that is. We happened to look over and there was a guy reading the paper, and because we were in New York City, it was, one of I think it was the New York Daily News, which is now defunct. And the big headline was, Vida Blue throws no-hitter against the Yankees. And I said, what do you think about China Blue? And he's kind of like, oh, that sounds awesome. China Blue. Yeah, that really rolls off the tongue really well. Do you like it? I go, yeah, I want to be China Blue. And that's who I was. I was China Blue for the entire time that I was in New York City. And what's really interesting, along with that, it took about, I don't know, maybe 2 or 3 days. And people would just use it like my name was Bob or Fred or John. But it was a name that I felt comfortable with and a name that I wanted to perform under. So many things are related to your name. It's not just your name. Now, naming yourself. Now, this is one of those things where a bunch of the jocks, we were all together one night over at Bill Gable's house. We were all young, and we had been drinking, so I'm going to kind of throw that out there. But we started talking about names and how people name themselves. And we kind of came up with this, and I'll just throw this out to you, okay? We were starting to throw out letters about, and there's certainly companies that do this for corporate names. They agonize over the letters in a word because different letters give different feelings to people. And we went through all the letters of the alphabet. What we really centered on was R's and M's and N's. The warmth of the M's and the N's, and the R's of star power, okay? And when we started looking after that and bringing up names, there was an enormous amount of names of actors and stars, and that's what they have in their names. I mean, Ryan's just a perfect name right out of the gate. Morgan is a great name because it's got both of them. And the list goes on and on. Sinatra, Arnold Schwarzenegger. I just think it helps you if you're choosing a name to actually choose a name that has R's and N's. Doesn't matter how weird it is, or doesn't matter, I don't think, necessarily how ethnic it is. Now, that's all the professional reasons. So let me tell you one more story, and I think this is what, to me, really drove it home was if I had to go back, I would never, ever, ever use my own name. I was working in a city, and it's a pretty decent sized station, and I get a call, I'm on the air, and I get a call from the switchboard, and the switchboard person out there says, hey, can you come out to the lobby? There's a girl here, and there was a name. She wants to talk to you. And I'm like, who? And she said her name again. I'm like, I don't know who that is. Well, she says she knows you. So I hung up, and she calls back and she goes, man, she's really agitated and she's really adamant that you come out here. She needs to talk to you. So I walk out and I turn the corner to where the lobby is, where where the girl is sitting on the couch. And the receptionist says, well, here he is now. And she points to me as I come around the corner. She got about halfway up, and the look on her face changed into, I don't even know how to describe it. And she just sat down, fell down almost into a hump back on the couch, kind of like. And the receptionist again says, this is me. And I said, hi, can I help you? And she proceeds to tell the story that she had spent the weekend with me, but I don't know this woman, and clearly she's looking at me and doesn't know me either. She had spent the weekend with somebody impersonating me. They were making believe that they were me, the guy on the radio, and she has no way of knowing because she can't see me. I'm the guy on the radio. There's no pictures. So this guy basically scammed her and spent the weekend with her, and slept with her and the whole deal, and she was devastated. And I said, sorry, and I got to get back. The songs are ending. She goes, I understand, and I go back into the control room, and she left. A few days later, the police come. I was like, okay. So they want to talk to me. So they explain, again, what happened to her. And it turns out the same guy from her description was going around to bars and basically borrowing money. He would go in, he would sit at the bar, and he would get a phone call from somebody else after being there for a while. And it was, the story would be something like, oh my God, my wife, who's on a business trip in Chicago, she had an accident. I got to get to Chicago really, really fast. I don't have my credit cards with me. I really need to get to the airport now. Can you loan me $400? I'll pay you back, or that type of thing. And since they've already having a conversation at the bar that he is me and being on the radio, and he could make that case because he knew enough from listening to the radio about me that he could portray me, so to speak, to the bartender or the owner would give him the money. So flash forward, about a month, and they've arrested him, and I'm in court. I'm in court where they're prosecuting this guy for fraud and and theft and stuff like that, and I literally have to go in and say like, well, no, I'm me, this is it. He's been impersonating me, blah blah blah, and all that sort of stuff, and ultimately he ended up going to jail, which is one of the reasons why I wanted to be China Blue. At that point, if I was using my real name, that could have been a horror show for me because it was a different time and the internet wasn't around at that point. So, he could steal my identity, but he can only just go so far. But now, if you sit and listen to somebody and you get an idea of what their wife's name is, what their kids' names, is, what section of the town they live in, their likes and dislikes and all that stuff, really pretty easy to impersonate somebody and they know your name. If they don't know your real name, it becomes really difficult for somebody to do that. They can portray to be you, but they can't actually legally be you. It's really infinitely harder to do that unless you're some amazing hacker, and then probably all bets are off. So for the end of this, from a professional point of view and doing better shows, I think it's better to change your name. From a just safety point of view, in this day and age of the internet and identity theft, and you're a prime candidate, your life is a wide open book on the radio, I would never, ever, ever use my real name on the radio as a jock. Hope that helps. I know it's a really odd lesson, if you will, today, but I think it's something you really should consider, particularly, if you're a jock and you're going to go to another city and you get a chance to start fresh, change your name. I'm just telling you right now, unless you got a lot invested into it, like I couldn't do that, at the end of my career or 2/3 into it. I mean, I would be like, all of a sudden I go from somebody to a nobody. Hey, let me tell you what I did, actually. Let me just add this in. Because it speaks to the R's and the N's and all that sort of stuff. Pat Holiday, man, that's got nothing. How do I change that? That is where, and I used this for about a decade, I thought, well, okay, how do I get R's into my name? And how do I get R's and M's and N's and that stuff? So I just started to tag on to my name, the world famous. I just made it up. Totally different feel. World famous Pat Holiday has a totally different feel than Pat Holiday. There's a whole bunch of things all of a sudden jump in there. So anyway, throw that out to you. If you like this video and you like the things that we're doing, hit the like button. As always, that really means a lot. And that's that thumbs up thing, is the like button. And don't forget to subscribe if you haven't subscribed already. We passed the 300 mark, which was phenomenal to me. So I guess, I don't know, what's the next rung? 350 maybe? Hey, you never know. So until the next lesson, see ya.